My family took holiday hosting for granted until I canceled and watched them implode for 15 years. I was Martha Stewart meets Atlas for my family's holidays, seriously Thanksgiving. Before we begin the story, take a moment to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means the world to our channel and helps us spread more shocking true stories to light. Now let's get started. For 15 years, I was the glue that held my family's holidays together. The tireless hostess, the planner, the chef, and the cleaner. If Martha Stewart and Atlas had a love child, that would have been me, carrying the weight of every Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter brunch, 4th of July, and even the so-called small holidays like Memorial Day and Labor Day. My house wasn't just the default gathering spot. It was the only option, an unspoken rule carved into stone. And the responsibility? That was mine from start to finish. It started out so innocently, like most things do. My parents had moved out of state, and my siblings were scattered across the city after college. I had the biggest house, and back then, in my early 20s, I actually enjoyed hosting. It felt like a rite of passage, proof that I was an adult, capable of creating warm, festive gatherings where laughter and good food flowed in equal measure. I loved the sight of everyone together, the way a perfectly roasted turkey or a beautifully decorated Christmas tree could set the mood. But naivete is a powerful drug. At first, people at least offered to bring something, a bottle of wine, a store-bought dessert, something easy they grabbed on the way over. Actual help with setup or cleanup. That was about as common as a unicorn sighting. But I didn't mind much. I was young, full of energy, and honestly, I liked being the good daughter. The one who kept the family close, who made the holidays special. Then the shift happened. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the offers dwindled to nothing. My house wasn't just the assumed holiday headquarters. It became a permanent, unwavering expectation. And the workload? It exploded. The holiday hostess trap. My family, bless their hearts. And yes, I mean that with every ounce of sarcasm I can muster, were not exactly what you'd call domestically inclined. My older brother, Jake, considered microwaving popcorn to be a culinary achievement. My sister, Emily, once set off the smoke alarm just trying to boil water. My parents? They were more of the supervisory type, full of opinions, short on actual elbow grease. They had plenty to say about my menu choices, my decorations, and even my seating arrangements. But when it came to chopping onions, stirring sauces, or, heaven forbid, doing dishes, oh no, that was my department. So year after year, I did it all. Days before each holiday, I'd find myself buried under mile-long grocery lists, darting between stores because I'd inevitably forgotten some crucial ingredient. My kitchen would transform into a war zone. Flour dusting every surface, pots bubbling over, the air thick with the mingled scents of a dozen dishes in progress. And where was my family while I was up to my elbows in stuffing and cranberry sauce? Lounging, laughing, watching football. Every so often, one of them would wander into the kitchen, grab a handful of snacks, and throw out a breezy, "Need any help?" Of course, it was never a real offer. It was a verbal formality, a conversational tick, like saying, "bless you," when someone sneezes. Because if I actually said yes, if I dare to ask them to chop vegetables, set the table, or literally do anything that required effort, they'd vanish faster than free donuts in a police station. Then came the day itself, a marathon from sunrise to sunset, up before dawn to get the turkey in the oven, a flurry of last-minute cooking, setting up the buffet, arranging seating, scrambling to make the house look at least somewhat presentable, despite the chaos that had taken over. And then they'd arrive. Not to help, of course. No, the cavalry didn't come to serve. It came to be served. My parents would settle into their designated armchairs, immediately launching into critiques. "Are you sure you put enough salt in the mashed potatoes, sweetheart?" Jake would commandeer the remote and claim the best spot on the couch. Emily? She'd flit around, offering air kisses and dramatic pronouncements about how stressed she was, usually over something completely trivial. And me? I'd be buzzing around like a caffeinated hummingbird, refilling drinks, refreshing food platters, mediating minor sibling squabbles, all while trying to look like I wasn't on the verge of collapse. Dinner itself was a spectacle, but not in a good way. My dad would inevitably launch into a political rant that could make even seasoned news anchors cringe. Emily would spend half the meal live streaming snippets of the gathering to her social media followers, punctuated by loud, performative laughter. And Jake, he'd pile his plate sky high, inhale everything at warp speed, then groan about how stuffed he was, only to go back for seconds 20 minutes later. And my mom? She'd spend an entire meal passive-aggressively analyzing everyone's eating habits, weight, and general life choices. Meanwhile, I was already thinking about the cleanup because, of course, that was my responsibility too. And when it was all over, when the last bite of pie had been eaten and the last football play had been watched, they would all leave. Not with a thank you, not with a genuine offer to help, just a casual, "Oh, you don't have to do the dishes tonight, sweetheart. Just relax. Relax." The word felt like a cruel joke, because relaxing wasn't an option. Not when I was left standing in the aftermath of yet another holiday hurricane. Mountains of dirty dishes, overflowing trash bags, and the unmistakable scent of burnt gravy and family dysfunction. For years, I gritted my teeth and did it all convincing myself that this was just the way things were. But deep down, something inside me was simmering, a slow-building resentment that, one day, would finally reach its boiling point. The breaking point. That boiling point came this year. Maybe it was the 15 years of exhaustion catching up with me. Maybe it was the sheer audacity of the text message I received in early October. It was from my dad. "Thanksgiving at your place again, right? Looking forward to it." No question mark. No please. Just a flat, declarative statement, as if I were some kind of holiday vending machine programmed to dispense festive cheer on demand. I stared at my phone, my thumb hovering over the reply button. And then, for the first time in 15 years, I felt something unexpected. Not stress, not obligation, but a slow, wicked smile spreading across my face. This year, things are going to be different. I took a deep breath and typed out my response. "Actually, Dad, Thanksgiving isn't going to be in my place this year." Then, because I simply couldn't resist, I added, "I'm taking a year off from hosting. Figured someone else might want to give it a try." And with that, I hit send. Then, for good measure, I turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I felt light. Free. Like I had finally set myself free from a tradition that had long since stopped feeling like a celebration, and had started feeling like a sentence. The fallout begins. The silence that followed lasted exactly 5 minutes. Then, my phone started buzzing like a nest of angry hornets. First, a flurry of frantic texts from Emily. "Wait, what? No Thanksgiving at your place. But where are we supposed to go?" Then a panicked voice message. "Seriously, call me back. What are we supposed to do?" Next, a more measured, but equally bewildered call from my mom. "Sweetheart, is everything okay? Why aren't you hosting this year? Is there something wrong?" Her voice was laced with genuine confusion, as if I had just announced I was moving to Mars and planned to live off hermetically sealed potatoes. And finally, Jake's voicemail. "Hey, you're serious about not doing Thanksgiving? 'Cause Mom's freaking out. Just call me back, okay?" I let them all stew for a few hours. The digital equivalent of letting a turkey brine overnight, if you will. When I finally turned my phone back on, I kept my response short and sweet. I sent a message to the family group chat. "Yep, no Thanksgiving at my place this year. Been doing it for 15 years straight. Time for a break. Figure out yourselves. Love you all." Then I muted the chat, leaned back, and basked in the blissful silence. For the first time in 15 years, Thanksgiving was no longer my problem. And honestly, it felt amazing. The holiday meltdown begins. If you've ever watched a group of people try to build IKEA furniture without reading the instructions, then you have a pretty good idea of what happened next. The family group chat? It exploded. Messages were flying back and forth so fast, I half expected my phone to catch fire. Emily, as expected, was the first to crack. "Okay, seriously, who is going to host? Mom and Dad's place is too small. Jake's apartment is a disaster zone. And well, you know I can't cook." Truer words had never been spoken. Jake, master of passive-aggressive avoidance, chimed in next. Guys, calm down. It's just Thanksgiving. We can go out to eat. Or order takeout. Chinese food Thanksgiving, anyone. Ah, yes. Because nothing says warm family tradition like a styrofoam container of orange chicken. My mom, forever the supervisor, never the worker, attempted to take charge. Well, maybe, Emily, you could host. You have that nice dining room, dear. Emily's response was swift and brutal. MOM. Are you kidding? Do you have any idea how much work that is? I have a million things going on at work right now. And besides, I don't even own a roasting pan. As if a roasting pan was the only thing standing between her and a successfully hosted holiday. From there, the conversation spiraled into an Olympic-level blame fest. Jake listed all the reasons why he couldn't host. Emily loudly insisted that none of this was her fault. Mom tried and failed to get Dad involved, but he just grunted and muttered something about tradition before disappearing into the background. And me? I sat back, watching the chaos unfold in real time, sipping my tea like I was watching a particularly dramatic reality show. For the first time ever, they were forced to realize just how much work went into these holidays. And they were crumbling under the pressure. It was glorious. Desperation sets in. As Thanksgiving Day inched closer, their panic intensified. At first, they were confident. They could figure this out. They were grown adults, after all, or so they claimed. But then came the desperate texts. First, my mom. Honey, are you sure you won't reconsider? It's just not going to be the same without Thanksgiving at your place. Then, Emily, resorting to bribery. Okay, listen, I'll bring 3 bottles of really good wine, and I'll even load the dishwasher afterward. Please, as if offering to push a button on an appliance was some kind of grand sacrifice. Then Jake, playing the guilt card. This is so unfair. You know how much Thanksgiving means to Dad. You're going to ruin the whole holiday. Oh, now it's important? But I stood firm. For 15 years, I had bent over backward to make these holidays happen. This year, they could figure it out themselves. And so, with my unshakable resolve, I sent my final message. Love you guys. But no, you're all adults. You'll figure it out. Then, for good measure, I turned my phone on Do Not Disturb. And for the first time in 15 years, I prepared to spend Thanksgiving actually relaxing. The best Thanksgiving I've ever had. Thanksgiving morning, I woke up to silence. No alarm blaring at dawn. No frantic chopping, dicing, or marinating. No mile-long checklist of things I had to do before people arrived. Just peace. I made myself a leisurely cup of coffee, put on some music, sat on my couch, an unheard-of luxury on a holiday morning. I didn't have to check the turkey, didn't have to time the sides down to the second, didn't have to hear my mom say, "Sweetheart, are you sure that's how you're supposed to do it?" For the millionth time. For the first time in 15 years, I wasn't stressed out of my mind on Thanksgiving. I was free. Later in the afternoon, I got one last text from my mom. It was short. Well, we ended up ordering Thanksgiving dinner from that fancy restaurant downtown. It was okay. Not as good as yours, of course, but okay. And then, miraculously, an admission. Jake actually helped set the table. Sort of. A small, satisfied smile spread across my face. I typed back, "Happy Thanksgiving." And that was it. No stress. No chaos. No resentment simmering inside me like a pot about to boil over. Just peace. And honestly, it was the best Thanksgiving I'd had in years. A holiday revolution. The holidays after that were different. Not perfect. My family is still my family, quirks and all. But the unspoken assumption that I was the family's default holiday host, that was gone. It turns out, when people are forced to take responsibility, they actually start to appreciate just how much work goes into things. It didn't mean they suddenly became holiday experts. Jake is still Jake, more likely to order takeout than roast a turkey. Emily is still Emily, dramatic, over the top, and allergic to kitchen duties. Mom still has opinions, and Dad still disappears when work needs to be done. But something shifted. They started taking turns hosting. Started helping, even if only a little. Started realizing that holidays don't just magically happen. And me? I learned something too. I learned that saying no isn't a crime. That setting boundaries isn't selfish. And that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for your family is to let them scramble. Because sometimes scrambling is the only way people finally understand what you've been carrying all along. And honestly, watching them scramble, that was the sweetest Thanksgiving dessert of all. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.